Welcome to the HR Empowerment Podcast, where we will uncover strategies and new insights from HR professionals who discuss up-to-date regulations, best practices, and the most pressing topics like diversity and equity, leadership, dealing with difficult situations, and much more that affect your bottom line and business. Thanks for joining us.
Hey, everybody. Welcome back to episode 3 of 5 in the series of helping parents in the leadership positions uncover their true potential. It's Wendy Sellers, the HR lady, with JC. Hey, JC.
Hi.
Hey, we have our awesome guest, Shayna here. Shayna, talk to us a little bit about continuing on our last conversation here. Talk to us about, what quick tips can we give employees and leaders on, maybe time blocking and working backwards and setting boundaries so that folks that are parents aren't working and burning the midnight oil literally at, midnight, 1, 2 a.m. and then coming to work to come to a 7 o'clock in the morning meeting. What advice can you give companies?
Okay. So the first thing I would say is it's really important, again, as we said earlier, to recognize everybody's needs are customized. Everybody needs different things. So when we take that a little bit of a step further, I think everybody has these hacks, things that they can do to save time, to save money, to save, whatever it is that they need to be focused on. And everybody's different with the things that they need. So where I like to start is really thinking about what matters. So what are the values, of the company, and what are the values of the employee? And when we look at where those things overlap, we start to see how we can set the tone for what is going to be important that we're focusing on and where we can set the boundaries. For example, I have a client who is really focused on self-care. That's a really big piece of who they are. And so when they were looking for another job, part of what they were looking for was a company that was going to allow them the space and time to be able to build that into their day. There were some places they interviewed with where they just said, hey, we go all the time. That's just what it is. And the ability for you to step away is going to be challenging. And we just want you to know that up front. Great. That person could cross that off the list. This is not the place for me. But if we don't have a sense of the things that are important to us and the things that are important to our company, it can often be hard to find that alignment. And I think that's where the rubber meets the road a lot of the times when we find ourselves not feeling totally satisfied at work. It's because there's some mismatch there. So I love to be able to say to somebody, we go through this like a values exercise that I do so that they can really understand what are the things that matter to me. There are some parents that will say, I love to see my kids, but I want them to be in school during the day and I don't want to see them till they come home. Great, that's fine. So then there are certain needs that they have that are different from the person that says, I want to be able to pop into the school during the day and grab lunch with my kid. Those are things that we have to consider, but you have to know what they are first to be able to back into what is it that a company can provide to me.
Yeah, for sure. JC, you have some stats for us there?
Yeah, I'm sorry for the delay there, Wendy. I was really soaking that one in. I was thinking back to my 16th birthday. My parents tried to surprise me with a car, but they missed. So a survey by the Working Mother Research Institute found that 90% of working mothers thought that they were more ambitious about their careers after having children. This change in goals can mean that you need to be more flexible. Back to you.
Yeah, especially if they're a first-time parent, or maybe they're just, taking this child rearing a little bit different than another child. And so that's where HR, or in the lack of HR, whoever the manager is that has the HR hat on, needs to be cognizant and said, you know what? I need to be talking to this person as they're asking for time off and figuring out, do we need to adjust your role, and letting them know that that's okay, that we can adjust your role. But so often people are afraid to ask because they're saying, I just want to fly under the radar and I don't want anybody to even notice that I'm pregnant or having a baby or adopting a child, or even as a father too. What are your thoughts on that, Shayna?
I think that there is a real legitimate fear that there's going to be some issue with promotability or with projects being handed over or whatever it is when we ask for those types of not formal, but accommodations in some way to what we need, the flexibility that we need. And again, I think it goes back to who do we see above us who's able to do those things successfully. And I remember that I had a client who was looking above her and she saw no women, she saw no parents. And so for her to be able to go to somebody and say, hey, I need some flexibility. I wanted to go to my kid's soccer game on Wednesday. It just felt like an impossible ask because she was really concerned about how would they look at her, because there was nobody above her who was doing that. And certainly nobody was having that conversation. So to your point, Wendy, I think we have to be really mindful about having that dialogue and not being afraid of it. It's like sometimes I think that we've gotten into this world of being so afraid to ask just what somebody needs that we miss the human connection piece. It's like we've become so robotic about how we do our jobs that we forget that I'm a human and you're a human, and let's talk about what you need. And hey, is it working for you right now? If you could design your schedule out of curiosity, what would it look like? It doesn't mean that we are accommodating every single ask that somebody has and that we have, just we can take vacation whenever we want. But to be able to understand somebody's needs and try to find ways around it, what a beautiful thing. And then, hey, by the way, now you've got a model for people coming up in an organization. You've got a retention ability to retain people because they see that they can have a full life at this place. And the truth is, we are not meant to be working all the time. We have to have lives outside of our jobs too.
Thank you.
And so I think we've got to consider that.
Absolutely. 110%. Raising children often requires understanding different perspectives, emotions, and needs. This ability to emphasize, oh my gosh, this word, empathize. Empathize. Oh my gosh, you could tell this is like middle of the week. Oy vey, let me tell you. It's crucial in the workplace. It really is, especially when dealing with team conflicts. Understanding your customers' needs or navigating interpersonal dynamics. So understanding differences, the difference of perspectives, emotions, needs, it's so critical. It really is, and it transcends.
It really is. That keyword empathy there is so important. It's not sympathy. It's empathy. It's just, figuratively putting yourself in that person, that employee's shoes just for a hot minute to say, ooh, this is uncomfortable being in your shoes. And maybe I, as the manager, should make some changes to your schedule or whatever it might be. So empathy, understanding, and this one thing that I don't always have, patience. Patience is something that is another skill that we really need to be teaching managers, leaders, HR, a little bit, and even just coworkers. So we could say, I don't want, John or Mary or Sue over here to get away with anything because they have a child, but we want to be flexible and empathetic and understanding and maybe practice a little patience because of the situation that they're in while they're doing their job differently than I would do it. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. Could not agree more. Yes, spot on.
Excellent. Well, hey, listen, I want to continue this conversation. Thanks for listening, everybody, in episode 3 of our 5-part series. Next episode 4, we're going to dive a little bit deeper, and we're going to talk about embracing risk and overcoming the fear of failure. And I would say this is both from a parent aspect and from a company aspect. Thanks for joining us. We'll hear you soon. Hear us soon. I can't talk today either, JC.
It's contagious today. We'll see you in the next episode.
Thank you for joining the HR Empowerment Podcast, brought to you by Aurora Training Advantage. We hope you've gained new insight and strategies to navigate the HR profession. We look forward to you joining us again on the HR Empowerment Podcast.